Hello, so today I've got a nice shiny helmet to review, and this was sent to me for free by Hype, and he's selling these for people quite cheaply if they're interested in getting these. So these are Chinese Type or GK80 helmets, I believe they're called. And I had a bit of a look at the history of these, and they're actually quite interesting with sort of how they came about. Again, it's not the most original design. A lot of you will be very famous with the, very familiar with these helmets because they're kind of quite famous if you look up the history of various helmets, just because, they're quite famous for sort of being the red Chinese, sort of communist Chinese People's Liberation Army helmet. Although it's come in lots of different sort of colours and derivatives and everything, with lower quality liners originally than they do now. So these are quite fascinating helmets, and I have to say, feels like it's a really good solid steel on here. Apparently out of all the steel helmets you can get, these are kind of the best ones. Probably even better than these German M56s, just because these are steel helmets still being produced today, and these are actually a bit heavier than old steel helmets, and I think that's just because of the thickness of the steel. If you look at that, it does feel like good quality, high quality, good thick steel. So I'll just give you something not to do with this video, but if people are wondering how I'm feeling today, still feel very achy. I've had a lot of difficulty getting out of bed again. Feels very fluey at the moment. I don't feel like I've got a temperature as much today. Thermostat's still fine. The blood oxygen monitor hasn't arrived yet, so can't find out any good results from that. But I'd say I feel better today at least, but maybe that's just because I'm fresh early and, awake. So anyway, let's go back to the helmet. So these have very good adjustable liners in these modern variants. So it's got sort of leather or fake leather sort of adjustable straps with a sort of head harness there, done via sort of paracord type thing. And then yeah, adjustable liner in a lot of places. It says QC Pass 02 on the inside. And then you've got an adjustable strap with a sort of proper chin thing on it, rather than it being just a simple, thing like that. So that's just the general profile of the helmet. It's pretty much just a standard bowl. So it's not too dissimilar in a lot of ways to the USM1 helmet, or some of the Soviet helmets, but the history behind these is apparently quite interesting, because the Sino-Soviet split happened, and apparently China at the time had no issues making their own helmets, but what ended up happening, Sino-Soviet split is sort of fascinating in itself, but Albania, which wasn't all that friendly with the Soviet Union, the communist Chinese wanted to basically make money supplying them with a helmet to use, because the Soviets weren't supplying them a helmet. Apparently this is the design they came up with, but bear in mind this is going back a bit, so it wasn't as good as this in that derivative. And over time they actually said, maybe it'd be a good idea to keep improving these and eventually issuing them to the PLA and having them as internal use helmets. So that's what they did. So that's what the GK80 helmet essentially ended up being, from what I've read on it. That it was a case of, making a helmet for somebody else for export, then realising that you actually had a really good designer, and why don't you keep improving it for your own use. Now, supposedly with modern China, GK80s are still being made, just simply because although China's obviously upgrading like everybody else to Kevlar or thermoplastic helmets, they've got all this machining and factories still set up to make these helmets, and they're like, well, we might as well keep making them just so we've got enough of them and we can export them and make a bit of money. Because, obviously China produces so much of everything anyway. I guess if they're making good quality helmets, that would be a thing you don't want to stop making, because there's going to be a demand for them. I especially imagine in a lot of African countries and things where they just can't afford Kevlar helmets. So imagine maybe there's a market for these in South America and Africa. So anyway, it's a steel pot helmet, as said. Supposedly these are about NIJ level 2. In terms of it will stop bullets, and things like that. I think some of these actually have, Hype was saying, if I'm remembering correctly from a conversation from a while ago, riot helmet ratings as well, because a lot of the companies that made these then actually submitted them to have the test done so they could then advertise them for police use and everything like that. So if you ended up getting one of these, you could be pretty certain that for a steel pot it's going to give you very good head protection from, flying bricks, things like that, and people trying to smack your head in with a club. Again, it's not a designated riot helmet, but it would give you fairly good protection to your head. So the liner system, as I said, I quite like it. Chin strap took a bit of adjustment, but I actually like the strap system. It's quite nice having one of these like modern clasps on an old steel pot helmet. But I do have a soft spot for steel pots because as much as Kevlar and thermoplastics are a lot more futuristic, you know, and do offer better protection, there's something that's very nice about a bit of steel on your head. You know, they're quite medieval in a way. And I think because of the toughness and weight of them, you know, that they work. So it also came with this. This is in English. The original multifunctional seamless wear, but it's, if you don't know what this camo is, it's basically the Chinese rip-off of Marpat that they then started mass producing for their own army. The thing is with China, everything is a rip-off, but quite often they rip something off and then improve it, which would annoy me if I had a patent for something, but if I'm the person consuming it, I don't mind. So I assume this is just a stretchy cover. It looks a bit like, oh, it's like one of those thermal socks. That's interesting. So right, let's see how this goes over the helmet. I reckon what we're going to do is just stretch it over somehow like this. And then again, this is easier said than done because I'm probably not going to be able to do this on camera very well. So let's just do that to the floor, maybe. Let me go back here where it might be in frame. Let me just see if I can fiddle about with it for a moment and get this on. Because yeah, this isn't a conventional helmet cover really, it's more of a sock, and I guess it's just because they had these sort of thermal sock kind of you know, neck covers that they thought why not issue them with the helmets as well, because they'll fit the helmet. It's one of those multi-purpose things, so that's, you know, in itself quite a good idea. I don't know if you're meant to fold over or have a thing looking like that at the top, you know, who knows, but I probably won't use this for this. I'll probably end up using this for something else because I quite like having the helmet in its shiny steel form. But there you go. You can, if you want to, you can have your helmet with a funny little cover on. There is probably a way of stretching this over completely properly. But yeah, it's an alright camo cover. But as I said, it's not one designated for this helmet. It seems. I think this is more one you just wear like a neck sock. As I said, the thing I do like about this, of course, is it's just a really nice steel pot helmet. And as a lot of you know, I like steel pot helmets. In some ways this reminds me of the Italian, is it M33 helmet? The actual kind of profile of it. The only thing that's a bit suspect, well not suspect, is there's a vent hole or a sort of liner attachment hole just there. You know, where that's right on your forehead, so that's not where you want one of those holes. Otherwise, in terms of construction of the helmet, because I'm pretty sure it's meant to be worn that way around, when I was looking at pictures of people wearing them, where how the chin straps went on, not that way around. Yeah, this way around doesn't feel right, because you'd want the higher ridge going like that, because that way you get better visibility. But yeah, the overall helmet design is very good, obviously. As I said, they're quite adjustable, and Hype should have these for sale. So I think he said that he was selling them about $15, but then the postage might be quite expensive because, you know, it's a heavy steel pot and they need a fairly big box to come in. But there you go. Chinese GK80 helmet, if I've remembered most of the facts about it. Pretty damn good actual helmet, I would say, in my opinion. And, you know, I always like steel pots, so it's nice that there's actually steel pots being produced that you can buy as a regular person for, like, what, the $20 sort of mark, I guess.